Hi, this is writer, producer, director Paul J. Salamoff, and I'm here with Sci-Fi Sistas.
Everybody, welcome to the Sci-Fi Sistas podcast, where we give you our point of view. I'm Tamia Harper, and today I'm joined by my sister, Subrina Wood.
Whoop, whoop.
I almost called you Yvette Blackman Tom.
I heard it. I saw your lips. I saw your lips going there. I was like, you better not do it.
Oh my God. Okay. We miss you, Yvette. And we also miss you, Fran. We miss you guys so much, but we're excited to be here because we have a great guest. And he's only, catch this, folks, only the second person to ever make a comeback appearance on our show. And we're so excited to have him back today to talk, believe it or not, of all things coming from the Sci-Fi Sistas, some Doctor Who.
Doctor Who!
So, Subrina, I'm going to let you introduce our guest.
All right, everybody. You already heard a little bit about what he does. He is a writer, director, producer. He even does special effects. He is an author. He is like my new best friend. It is my former instructor at the New York Film Academy. This is a man that taught me how to write screenplays. This is Paul J. Salamoff. Yay, Paul!
Thank you for having me back. I don't know why you want me for a Doctor Who. Whatever, we'll make it work.
I don't know. And for those of you who are listening to us, you should see this man's background. And he is in the TARDIS at the moment, and he's surrounded by some Daleks and all sorts of Doctor Who accoutrement.
I see things that I'm even recognizing for the last 48 hours that I have been double dosing Doctor Who, getting ready for this show.
As you should be.
So here's the thing. I mean, like, full confession, as everybody knows who listens to us, we are hardcore Trekkies. We dabble maybe a pinky toe or so. Some of us more than others. Some of us have a whole foot and a leg in the Doctor Who pool. And, and some of us are not even a pinky toe. So, like, why are we doing this special? Why are we doing this show? We want to do this show because it's coming up on the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who. It is arguably one of the most important franchises, sci-fi franchises of all time, and one of the most enduring, and one of the ones that seems to be able to continue to reinvent itself, even though it's still like you're still getting a lot of the same old. But I mean, it's an incredible show. So we brought you on so we can talk about it. So let's start at the beginning. When did your fascination with Doctor Who begin? Were you a kid, or were you like a preteen or a teen and go, "Ooh, that's cool"?
Oh, no, I mean,
not to imply that you're old. I'm just saying that I didn't get into thinking Doctor Who was cool until like high school for me, and I was watching it on PBS.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah, well, I'm already on my fourth regeneration right now, so I still feel very young. So I grew up on the East Coast. I grew up in a town called Natick, which is sort of a suburb of Boston. And yeah, we had PBS, we had public broadcasting system, and that was the only place you could really see Doctor Who. What was really great. So here's the thing. I grew up in one of the biggest sports communities in New England, which, Heisman Trophy winner Doug Flutie went to my high school. And, here I am, a big geek, because I saw Star Wars when I was 5 years old in its original run.
That's right. Hello.
Yeah, and, just really, that's where I really fell in love with science fiction. And I stumbled across this program with this guy with his long scarf and, this big brown jacket and curly hair. And this was a show called Doctor Who. And it was like monsters, and this guy traveled in time and space. And it was, on PBS. And I instantly wow, what is this? Monsters and And what was really interesting about how they showed Doctor Who when I was growing up is that they started with the first season of Tom Baker, right? Which they started with Robot, and they would go all the way to the end of that season, and then they would just start over again. And then by the time you got to the end of the season, they'd get a new season. So you would watch that first Tom Baker season, watch the new one, then they would start all over again, and then they would just keep on, and that's how they would do it. And so I got to see like some of these episodes over and over and over again, and I absolutely loved it. And then eventually they got they went from Tom Baker, they did Peter Davison, and then we got Peter Davison, and then they got John Pertwee. So it went back to John Pertwee. And I think I don't ever remember them showing Colin Baker. And I think by the time I had, at that point, I had, come out to California to go to college. But I was obsessed with Doctor Who from the minute I saw it. And I would go to Doctor Who conventions on the East Coast. I built a K9 for a Doctor Who convention. Nice. I think it was in New Hampshire or something. I convinced my parents, and I was part of the Doctor Who fan club. I still have stuff from that. I still have like all my Doctor Who like magazines, but I also had these like newspapers that this Doctor Who fan club would do. I still have
wow.
them.
Oh my God.
As you can see, obviously behind me, that's not fake behind you folks. That is the actual real TARDIS console from the 96 Paul McGann TV movie, and a Dalek that I built, and that's just, you're not seeing what's over there.
That's crazy. That's just insane. Yeah. That is so cool.
Yeah. So I'm sure we'll cover like how I got the TARDIS console, but yeah, I've been a lifelong fan of the series. I find it just absolutely magical in the sense that it can constantly reinvent itself. And if you don't like this Doctor, we'll just wait a couple of years.
Wait for regeneration.
There's lots of stuff to catch up on. I have a cabinet over there with all the DVDs and Blu-rays. But
oh my God.
It just really captured my imagination. And now I've as a grown up, I actually wrote a Doctor Who audio adventure for Big Finish.
Nice.
I wrote a Doctor Who comic book that was sort of a bio comic on a couple of the Doctors, and I've appeared in lots of different Doctor Who books like Behind the Sofa and Red, White, and Who. And actually, in one of the newer issues of TARDIS magazine, here I'll show you this really quickly. They did.
He's asking, why did we have him come back for this show? This is why, Paul.
So they did a whole retrospective on us. My friend Brian Wiega and Bob Mitch. They were the ones who helped me restore the TARDIS console when I got it, and they always helped. Conventions.
That is incredible.
Yeah, that console, I've taken that to New York to the LI Who convention. It's gone to Oklahoma. It's gone to Texas. God. It's gone to Los Angeles. It's San Diego. It's gone to a bunch of different places because I'd love to share it. I know what it means to have something like that.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I know I would want my picture taken with that. So next time I come to your house, which would be the first time.
Right.
and what's really awesome too is I literally have had a lot of luminaries Doctor Who over to my house. Sylvester McCoy's been over here twice. Fraser Hines, who's Jamie, is really one of my close friends. He's been over here a number of times.
Wow.
Sergeant Benton, John Levine used to live right down the street. And also Daphne Ashbrook used to live down the street. She's now back in New York. So Daphne Ashbrook, who is, the companion in the Doctor Who movie. And I'm told that Paul McGann's going to come here sometime soon when he's back in town. So, that's crazy. Look, for somebody who's been a Doctor Who fan since, like I said, I was like 5 years old. Is that freaking amazing?
I know, right? It's so cool. There's so many similarities to that I'm finding, like in your story, to our Trek fandom. But one of the things that you said that really stuck out to me is that, like, if you don't like this Doctor, just wait a little bit. There's going to be another one. It's just like there's a Star Trek for everybody.
Right.
Like there's a Doctor Who for everybody too. I know that some people are way more into classic Doctor Who, and some people are way more into the more modern Doctor Who, and some people are into all of it. like yourself. Like, I mean, I think the story writing is the storytelling is so wonderful in Doctor Who. And so, I mean, like, you're always getting something pretty meaty to chew on.
Now, do you know, are you aware that when it originally started, in the 60s, it was designed to be a kids program to educate them on history? That's when it first started.
No, I did not know that.
So, but then as soon as the Daleks showed up, it was sort of,
all bets were off then, right?
I mean, that's why a lot of in the earlier seasons, it's a lot of historic stories. And that was the reason for it, because it was originally like sort of kind of obviously to entertain, but to really kind of like talk about history.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
That's really
that went out the window.
Well, since we're on the early Doctor Who, let's talk about that. Let's do like a little brief, because I know a lot of our listeners are actually Doctor Who fans, but I know a lot of our listeners are not as well. So I know that we have covered a little bit of Doctor Who before, but can you give us like a brief rundown, like a brief little history?
Boy. Okay, yeah. So it started. The first episode in Unearthly Child literally aired. I think it was like 3 days after Kennedy was assassinated. I mean, it's something like
that's
ridiculous
right.
like that. Yeah, I should probably know that. In grain, but that's November. So William Hartnell was the first Doctor, and those were the ones in black and white, and he was sort of this old crotchety grandfather, type character. And what was happening though was Hartnell was getting old, he was already advanced in his age, and someone came up with a brilliant idea of like, well, this guy is this alien, for lack of a better word, and they got the idea of like he can regenerate. They didn't want the show to air, the show to end, because it was so popular that they came up with the idea that he could regenerate himself and become a different have a different look. So he regenerated into Patrick Troughton, who was sort of like this whimsical kind of how do they always describe him, like a space hobo kind of guy, and each Doctor had their own idiosyncrasies. Mm-hmm. So Troughton was the Doctor for a little bit, and then as they transitioned to color and so forth, then came John Pertwee, who was more like this dashing James Bond.
Yeah, right.
When the Bond movies were really, popular, and, he was this sort of James Bond dashing kind of, with his white curly hair and his,
It definitely is.
And they really introduced the Master at this point, who was sort of like his arch nemesis and almost like his Blofeld, in that respect. And, he had, his little gadgets. And even though the sonic screwdriver, which, hate to break it to you, folks, Doctor Who doesn't use phasers or guns or anything.
Right?
No.
Maybe once in a blue moon, but it's not about, the thing about Doctor Who was it's not about solving problems with, I mean, he'll throw a punch every once. John Pertwee, would get into punching matches every once in a while, but it wasn't about using weapons to destroy people. It was really about trying to solve problems, universal problems in, using your brain and using, science and so forth. But so you had this sort of dashing with John Pertwee, and then he regenerated into Tom Baker, which is really the Doctor that most people sort of know. Yeah, exactly. So long scarf, hat, curly hair, big white smile teeth, and Tom Baker was sort of like my Doctor. Everybody sort of has their Doctor. Tom Baker was my Doctor. He was the one who I was introduced to first, even though I did see. What's really interesting, for the longest time, there was something that scared the crap out of me when I was a little kid, and it was actually from a John Pertwee episode from the Silurians. I never knew it until I saw the Silurians when they showed the John Pertwee one. I'm like, that's the thing that has been haunted me for years. I never knew it was Doctor Who. But from my point of view, it was Tom Baker was my first Doctor, and so Tom Baker was the longest running Doctor Who. He really, that's really where it crossed over, especially with American audiences.
Yeah.
And then,
definitely.
And then, Tom Baker, so after his tenure as the Doctor, he regenerated into Peter Davison, who's the one who has the cricket uniform.
Yeah.
And I really like Peter Davison a lot. He's really like, he was like the youngest Doctor at the time, and he had he had 3 companions with him, and then so Peter was it for a while, and then he transformed. He regenerated into Colin Baker, no relation to Tom Baker, and Colin Baker's the one who has the whimsical, like, multicolored
jackets. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing with Colin's Doctor is Collins was very, like, erratic. Like, there was something that sort of gone wrong a little bit with the regeneration, and he was, like, having fits, and he would be a little more ornery, sort of like William Hartnell was. The sort of, like, crotchety. Even though he was younger, he, sort of, like, had his, stuff like that. So, and then he ultimately regenerated into Sylvester McCoy. And that's when, that lasted for a couple of seasons, and that's when Doctor Who got, as we call it, the wilderness years. Not like officially canceled, but sort of put on hold for a while.
Yeah. So,
and there was what they called, like I said, the wilderness years, and this is where Doctor Who was really kept alive by the fans, sort of like Star Trek. With the Star Trek conventions, it was sort of a similar thing, and there was a lot of like fan fiction, but then there was a lot of Doctor Who books and adventures, and that's what sort of kept Doctor Who alive.
So how many seasons were there in the classics? I thought there were like 27, I heard, like
28, 27, 28. I should know that. Like, I'm just, but just embarrass myself to, like, I don't deserve all this.
No. I'm just saying, like, it was a lot of Doctor Who before it was, in the wilderness years.
Yeah. So it went from
not like we had 3 years of Star Trek and it was nothing.
So it went from 1963 to, I think, 89. Was,
okay, that makes sense to me now. Yeah.
And there was times where, like, seasons were either truncated or it waited longer for seasons. So, so then it was gone for a while, and then Fox had talked to the BBC about reviving it. Fox had talked about. There was a time when Steven Spielberg was trying to do a Doctor Who movie. He was going to do like a movie.
No, that would have been interesting.
Yeah, it was great. I got to see like production design from it, which was really cool.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. So that was like during. Because I remember when was that? Because it was. It was in like the 90s. Like I think it was like 91 or something like that. They just couldn't get it off the ground.
Yeah.
But it was Spielberg who was going to, he was either producing it or I don't think he was going to direct it, but I think he was producing it. And it was weird. The Daleks were kind of odd. They actually could open up and stuff like that. And there was Cybermen sort of, but they were more like, they looked almost aboriginal, like in some respect. It was very interesting. The designs, I saw the designs. I met the design. I actually worked with the designer and he showed me a lot of the designs for it. But then in like 95, 96, they brought back Fox. They made a deal with Fox to do a Doctor Who TV movie that was supposed to serve as a backdoor pilot, with Fox.
Oh, okay.
And they filmed it up in Vancouver, and it was an American / BBC, production. And that was with Paul McGann. And Philip Siegel was a producer of it. And, they did this, I remember, like, oh boy, I actually got to go to the premiere of it at the Directors Guild when I was with the Sci-Fi Academy, and they brought me, and I went with Eric Wallace, the producer of Crash, and, and Eric, because Eric's a huge Doctor Who fan, and so we got to go to the premiere of that, which was crazy. Which is crazy given that, I was wound up, with the TARDIS console from it years later. But it aired on Fox. It did well, but not good enough.
Not the numbers.
The numbers to sort of justify bringing it back, which was a real shame because I really liked it. They changed some things, but, the Doctor was now half human, and that was. And he kissed the girl. Oh God! How dare he kiss Daphne? So that was in 96, and then, it went away again for a while, still kept alive by conventions
Right.
and finish and audio and stuff like that. And then in 2005, it was officially brought back by the BBC with Christopher Eccleston as the Doctor. And we don't see the regeneration from Paul McGann to, Eccleston, but it's understood that, that's what happened. And this was Russell T Davies brought it back. And, that's now we're in the modern Who.
Who.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's really, and, like always, when people ask me like, hey, I'm interested in getting into Doctor Who, where should I start? I really think that is probably the best starting off point.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see now, you know what I mean? But what's going to happen with the new stuff?
Right.
But it's but because it's much more modern sensibilities. It's not like, look, I'd be lying if I said that Doctor Who can be challenging for some people. You know what I mean? Because, we always talk about cardboard sets and stuff like that. I mean, like, Doctor Who was not, it didn't have a high budget like Star Trek.
No.
The special effects were really just kind of like, hey, it's
quirky.
Exactly. But it was more of the storytelling that has gotten me. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
right.
I mean, they really talked about a lot of like, and people would die on the show, and it would be.
It's very emotional.
Right. I remember like when I first started watching it as a teenager. And just being like, oh my God, like this stuff is like, this is so bad. It's so bad. Because it was so, but then getting stuck. Like, I mean, because the thing it wasn't the acting that was bad. It wasn't the writing that was bad. I mean, like, it was just like, it was like you said, it was really low budget, and it just we weren't used to looking at stuff like that. But then you got stuck in the story.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you're watching it all the time,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'll tell you, like, Tom Baker is definitely the end to classic Doctor Who. You know what I mean? Like, if you're interested, like, if you're a fan of the current iterations and the new Who, I think dipping your toe in with Tom Baker is probably a good idea, because especially the producer at the time, Philip Hinchcliffe, he was very influenced by Hammer. So a lot of the Doctor Who along those like first couple of seasons of Tom Baker, because then like Douglas Adams took over. You know what I mean? Which was, Douglas Adams was, from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, was a producer on it. So it sort of got a little silly a little bit at some point.
Oh, okay.
But those first couple of seasons of Tom Baker are really terrific. Like they got it right. You know what I mean? They got it right. There's great stories. A lot of it's sort of horror. And that's what really sucked me in. And you could really see that influence on the new, on New Who and so forth. So
but I like that. I like some of that silliness though, too. I think that's something that's kind of unique to the Doctor Who franchise, is that there's a healthy balance of silly and seriousness, that makes it really endearing. It's like, a lot of times they just hit the right balance.
Yeah. Yes.
There's a lot of whimsy and and dealing with some heavy themes a lot of times, but like sci-fi can get so heavy sometimes, just like, can we laugh at all a little bit at ourselves, just a little bit?
It did a really good job of that, of balancing it, and then really hitting home. And Star Trek was good at this too, like for those serious things. And, you really do start caring about these characters. And,
absolutely.
I'm this book, I wrote this essay for this Companions of Doctor Who book that's coming out in April. And I got to choose the companion I wanted to talk about, and I chose Sarah Jane Smith. And Sarah Jane Smith was Tom Baker's first companion. She was a holdover she joined the TARDIS crew with John Pertwee in his last couple of episodes. She came on in a story called The Time Warrior that introduced the Sontarans. And she was this was in the 70s. So it was right when women's lib was really, and she was this companion who was a reporter, and she finds out about the Doctor, and she works for a unit and stuff like that, and she was really like really women aren't to be saved all the time. She can,
Right.
she had a lot of gumption. And I just really loved her as a companion. I mean, she really is my favorite. I mean, she's my favorite companion. She always has been my favorite companion. I do like Rose Tyler a lot, and some other ones, but there was just something about her. So I chose her as my companion to write an essay about. But I remember when she left, it was really emotional because she, it was, this story, where at the end, she's sort of upset. The Hand of Fear was this episode, and she was sort of upset with the doctor, felt that he wasn't really taking her seriously, and she, grabs all her stuff and she's like, I want to go home. Like, she's like, she doesn't really mean it, right? She doesn't really mean it, but she's like, I want to go home. But little did she know is right before she decided to do this, he got a special message from Gallifrey that he needed to go back to Gallifrey and he couldn't take her with him.
Oh, no.
You know what I mean? And so she comes in and, she's just trying to be, just trying to put him in his place. And he's like, I have to take you home. And you realize I'm even getting upset when I'm like, because I can feel like it, because it broke my heart when I saw it as a kid. Because, I loved her so much. You know what I mean? And she's like, and I knew she wasn't serious.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
And he goes, and, he says, I have to take you home. And she's like, you can tell that she doesn't really want that, but there's no choice.
Right.
Right. So,
you're really going home.
Yeah, you're going home. There's this really beautiful moment between them. It's so real. You know what I mean? That's the thing. Is when I grew up, people didn't understand Doctor Who. When I went to school, people teased me for being into Doctor Who. I was literally
I believe that.
Oh yeah, no, I got teased for being into Doctor Who, with real geek, and there was only a couple of people who actually even watched it in my high school, I remember just being so emotional, and it was so truthful and so beautiful, this beautiful moment, and it really stuck with me. I mean, it really did for the longest time, and I was so wonderful when they brought her back. They brought her back for the 5 Doctors, but Tom Baker wouldn't do that. So they paired her with John Pertwee. And, so we got to see Sarah Jane for a little bit. And then there was the K9, there was a K9 and Company. It was this special they did. But when they brought her back into the modern era of Doctor Who, that was amazing. It was just amazing. Because it showed the respect for the past.
Yeah.
And people know how much she was such a great companion. You know what I mean? And she was, she just, and just bringing her back in and then giving her own show. It was just, wonderful. And then, she passed away, and I was lucky I got to meet her, which was really wonderful. There was, at one of the Doctor Who stores, they had a signing with her. And I got to meet her, and it was
cool.
A really beautiful picture of me with her.
Oh.
So to be able to write that essay, I wrote it with so much love and so much. It was, I could feel the emotions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
I understand.
Reliving those feelings and talking about when they brought her back, and you guys know as Star Trek fans, there are things that really they dig in.
Yeah,
we're still not over Jadzia.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Exactly.
To this day.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. It's those emotions to me are still real to this day too, with Sarah leaving. You know what I mean? And it was because for me though, that was the team. You can't break up this team.
Right,
this was the team, and I like her, and she's cool. I think she was my first crush. I think what I mean. She's so spunky and cool, and she was I sort of say this sort of in the essays because my mother. My mother's great, and she was the mayor of our town. You know what I mean? So I grew up with a very a great role model. For a mother and stuff like that. And I think I even talk about that in my essay that it's Sarah was in my mom in some ways. You know what I mean? It's strong women, and my mom was involved with the League of Women Voters, and that's what Sarah Jane was really involved with women's rights and stuff like that. And it was so. I think. That was, because I was probably really young at the time when I was, 12 or 13 when I started watching Doctor Who, so maybe even younger. Of course I was young. I was 5. I was really young. Actually, no, I was really young when I started watching Doctor Who. So I think that had imprinted on me too. You know what I mean? In that.
Sure.
Yeah, the companions always get me because, I've been dallying around looking at. I haven't watched all of the classic stuff, but I kind of always want to see the episode where they regenerate, and it's always so horrible. The poor companion, and like this show is tearing me up, and I don't even know. I didn't even watch the whole season. I'm just watching this last part. But
Rose Tyler was the.
Oh
first.
My God, that one just broke me.
Heartbreaking. Heartbreak. I mean, like she really comes close to like, because she was such an interesting character, and it was really, when they brought Doctor Who back, they almost kind of brought it back from her perspective.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think that's why I really got into it again, because it was really interesting. It was her perspective, which is our perspective. It's the audience perspective. So, yeah.
And this excitement about, that final scene where, I'm going to get all teary-eyed again, where, come and join me on my adventures. I mean, wouldn't that be the most amazing thing? I mean, if the Enterprise pulled up to Earth and said, hey, ladies, jump in the train, transport you know what I mean? Like, that would be, because we know this is, this is science fiction, and we know it's just fantasy and it's not real, but could you imagine if this was real? You know what I mean? And could you imagine traveling in time and space? You could go anywhere. You know what I mean? And, it's infinite. And I think that's what really captured my imagination. I was obviously a Star Trek fan, but nowhere near as, Doctor Who, like for me, it was my world. Like that was my jam. Doctor Who. It really was.
Now, I want to bring us up to what's happening, what's going to happen. So right now, the reason why we're really, really, really getting excited is because we have this big 60th anniversary, and BBC has just been unloading promos, so that I'm just really can't wait to see this. So they have brought back. All right, here we go. They brought back the 10th Doctor Who. What is going on? Jodie, the female Doctor Who, she was number 13.
Yep.
And now we're going back to David, who I love.
Yeah.
What's going on, Paul?
Oh, I'll tell you, the reason why they're doing, I don't know.
Come on, Paul.
You're hanging out with people. You got people coming to the house. What do you mean you don't know? Somebody called you and told you something.
Holy crap! Because, I saw the things that, Ncuti Gatwa is going to be, the new, Doctor Who. And then all of a sudden we get David Tennant back.
Right.
Just one of the best Doctor Who's. You know what I mean? Like, just seriously.
That's the other one I know.
Yeah. Yeah, and David, David definitely responsible for absolutely for bringing in new fans. I mean, no disrespect to Chris Eccleston at all. Like, he was a great actor.
No, he was great. I loved him too.
Great. But, he kind of just, hey, I'm going to come back for him to do one season, and because Chris was doing really well with with films and stuff like that, and so they were able to use some of his star power, to really, bring some attention back to the show. But, as soon as David Tennant came on board, it just hit the ground running. And he was, I guess he was sort of like the nice, romantic lead that, that attracted a lot of people, because he's a good looking guy. And, it's like, wow, it's kind of this dashing Doctor Who that was very relatable. And then with Rose Tyler, it was this, really, great command, for the guys, you know what I mean?
Rose
but women liked her a lot too, because she didn't take any mess. Like, she took no shit.
Yeah. And
and I was like, oh, I like her.
Yep.
Yeah.
She really stood toe to toe. She was like, no. Dude.
And you know what? Look, we talked about how they sort of tested the waters with, that kiss between, the Eighth Doctor and Daphne there. But, you really felt like there was this sort of blossoming love affair. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
You were
really
waiting. I mean, that was the
palpable.
whole anticipation was come on.
Yeah.
Very palpable.
And I did, it's so funny, look, everybody's going to have their opinions. The same thing with Star Trek. You know what I mean? People are going to like certain things. They're not going to like certain things. They're going to like certain people they bring in and not, or this captain or that guy, whatever. You know what I mean? Everybody's going to have their opinion. I always give it the benefit of the doubt. You know what I mean? It's like, it's like, all right, every time a new, like, I remember, when David Tennant was gonna leave, and I saw this new guy coming in, and I'm like, that's not Doctor Who. And then the minute he's like on, it's like, okay, that's the Doctor. You know what I mean?
Right.
Even, even with Jodie, look, here's the thing. Did I want a female doctor? No, I really kind of didn't, because I really felt there needed to be at least that. I don't know. Like, to me, the doctor was always male. You know what I mean? It's not like a sexist thing. It's not, trust me. It's like, I have no problem with that at all. So I was really like, concerned, am I going to be able to accept Jodie as the doctor? Because I like her as an actress, very much like her as an actress. And I gotta be honest, like, when she started me, I'm like, I buy her as a doctor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, and I, it's like, do I like the fact that they changed the genders? I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like, and it's for no reason at all. I mean, like, honestly, it's just, I don't know. It was just something but I totally accepted her as the doctor. Yeah. Totally accepted her as the doctor. You know what I mean? And I really liked her as the doctor. I thought she was very interesting. You know what I mean? So, that's the thing, is that it does, it does. Some doctors are a little bit more challenging than other ones, but they all are the doctor. You know what I mean? and just give him a chance. Peter Capaldi, I didn't know if I was, gonna, like him as the doctor. And yeah, I really, got into him. Yeah. So it's like, so that's the thing is I think they've done a really good job of the consistency of, like, the storytelling. Some seasons are better than others. Some stories are better than others. Not all of them are going to, hit. But, I'll tell you, I mean, because there are certain episodes or stories that I love that's, like, classic stuff. I mean, Genesis of the Daleks from Tom Baker is still, to me, like, the greatest one. But I'll tell you, Blink, the David Tennant one that Stephen Moffat wrote, that's, if anybody's like, okay, I'm just going to watch one Doctor Who, which one will I watch? Watch Blink.
Okay. All right, everybody.
With Carey Mulligan, is in that episode.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about then. Yeah.
And that's the one with the weeping angels and stuff like that.
Wait.
That is just...
I've seen clips. I know which one you're talking about.
It's phenomenal. Like, it really is, like, potentially the best Doctor Who story. You know what I mean? It's just, everything about it is just brilliant. I mean, Stephen Moffat wrote it. It's really just great. You know what I mean? And, but it's formatted a little differently because we're following, Carey Mulligan. You know what I mean?
Right. Uh-huh.
So, but that's a great introductory episode for a modern Who, just because it is so just perfect.
So now we have the 60th anniversary shows coming up. So we got 3 movies, right?
Three
episodes.
Yeah, the episodes are
movies. They're movies. They're
movies.
Yeah, they're like, I think they're about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. I know it's not like, but is it just 3? It's like,
I heard 3.
It's 3.
And David Tennant is going to...
Well, at least that's what has been released everywhere. Like, it looked like it was 3.
Right.
I know I should know this better, but it's like...
I got this.
Just bring them on. I want to watch them. You know what I mean?
I'm telling you, I have been, like, just watching, like, the BBC promos, and I'm
okay.
We got 3 of them. And the trailers are really great because they showed... David Tennant coming back, and I was like, wait a minute, I don't know who that much, but I know that's not number... He's like back in like 10. So, so there he is, comes back. And, at the end of the trailer,
I love his new costume too. Like his it's really great. Really looks cool.
But at the end of the trailer, they have Shooty. Shooty is at the end of the trailer. I was like, oh, what are you trying to tell me? What are you trying to tell me? Yeah. So they're calling this the Bridge Doctor Who.
Yeah.
That basically, I heard, this is what I read, they were waiting for Shooty to finish. He was doing Barbie.
Oh, interesting. Yeah,
he was doing Barbie, and they couldn't get him to come back and shoot the scenes that they needed for the 60th. So they either had to go without doing the 60th, or do the 60th with somebody else, and then they were like at a impasse there. So David Tennant came in so they could shoot the 60th. They said they'll use it as a bridge and then shoot these. They've already they're filming with Shooty. Shooty's already doing
they're already
season
filming.
2.
Yeah,
they're doing season 2 now. So, oh my God! And I saw pictures of Shooty with a big afro, looking like Carnaby Street. I'm like, oh, come on! I can't wait.
His companion's not too hard on the eyes either. Right?
No, I cannot wait to see this. So there's a look on his face at the end of the trailers that's just sort of like, okay, what is going on here? So I cannot wait to see how they're going to wrap this up.
Yeah, I'm going on for the ride too, where it's like, look, yes, could I probably find out a lot of inside information? Probably. It's like, but I don't want to.
Right. Exactly. I mean, it ruins the experience sometimes. And you just want to experience it for the first time with nobody else's notions or ideas or thoughts about it or opinions, like coloring your experience.
Yeah.
Like one of my students, what's really funny is I actually got to go to a press screening of the Marvels the other night, right?
Ooh.
One of my students, like she has her Captain Marvel bag and she's like a huge fan, like completely jealous that, I was going to see it like days before it was opening. But like in class today, she's like, I don't want to hear anything. Like nothing. I don't want to hear it's great. I don't want to hear anything. Nothing like that. And I'm like, all right, I respect that. 100%. I will not say anything. I will, not say anything about it. But, which is funny, reminds me of like when Endgame was coming out, one of my students was going to see it the day before I was, and I was seeing it like the opening day or whatever, like midnight show, like, and I told him, I'm like, no joke. You say anything, you're getting an F in my class. And I'm joking. I didn't wait fucking 10 years and 20 some odd movies for you to spoil it the day before I'm seeing it in IMAX.
Exactly.
Take you down.
So, understand, you will be getting an F, and I will fight that if I have to.
Bring me to the D. Go ahead.
So I respect that a lot. And that's the thing. It's like, it's for me, it's like you're talking about my favorite show. It's like, why would I want to spoil it? You know what I mean? Like, why would I want to see, like Frasier is like Frasier Hines, who, played Jamie with, with Patrick Troughton, he's the Scottish one with the kilt, right? He's one of my really close friends. Like, I don't like, he they did some things where they brought back old companions with the Doctor and the TARDIS, and it's like, I didn't know he was, I could have found out maybe, you know what I mean?
Right.
But he shouldn't have told me, even if he would have told me, but I didn't know about it, and it was so exciting, to see that, oh my God, Frasier's back, Jamie's back, you know what I mean? And I had that excitement, you know what I mean? It's like, even if he could have told me, I'm glad he, I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That's exciting for me. It's like, I love this stuff. You know what I mean? It's like,
I always had like the thing, like, when we do shows about different Star Trek series and stuff, and like I've been on a couple of other people's shows, and they're like, okay, give us your predictions of what you think is going to happen in the next episode. I hate that so much. I'm like, I cannot tell you how much I hate being a part of it. I hate hearing it. I mean, and no disrespect to my friends' shows who do that. I mean, like, a lot of people love it. I mean, that's how they engage with the show. It's like they're excited and they want to know what's coming next, and their gears are turning, right? The gears in your brain are turning, and you're like, oh, okay, what if it's this? What if it's that? For me, I like to go on the ride. I trust my storytellers, and I'm there for the ride, and you just take me to someplace new, and I don't need to forecast where we're going. I just go with you, and we experience it, and that's it. Like, I want to let the storyteller do their job.
I could not agree with that more. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, I mean, that's the thing, is I love the fact that I'm not like some jaded asshole, you know what I mean? Like, who's manipulative, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm still excited about it. Like, I was excited to see the Marvels, even though I know it's not getting great reviews and stuff. But it was like, I was still excited to see it because I was seeing a new Marvel movie.
Right.
Yeah, right.
And they haven't really let me down only a couple of times, and that wasn't so awful, you know what I mean? And it's like, I love that I'm still a kid at heart, you know what I mean? And, you know, I can enjoy this stuff and experience it, you know, and because I will be there. I can't wait for them to show, you know, this, you know what I mean? Like, I can't wait to watch these. I will be watching it the minute I can watch this,
right?
You know, because it's exciting. You know what I mean? It's exciting to see new stuff.
And speaking of like new stuff, like really excited for the 60th anniversary, but I'm super excited to see Ncuti up there.
Yeah, I'm curious.
You know? And because the thing is, like, why wouldn't the Doctor be a non-white man? You know, like, you know, like, I mean, it's like they've got like, otherwise, how is the species like reproducing at all? It's like a Q. It's like a Q in Star Trek. Like, why does a Q need to be a white man? They don't. They're you know, anyway. So I'm really excited for it, you know, because I think it's so important for people to be able to see themselves.
Yeah.
You know?
And I've seen some of his different, you know, the costumes he's wearing.
Oh, yeah.
Look interesting. And like, you know, it was always weird because it's like I watched like I didn't know who he was as an actor, so I watched some like things on him, and I'm like, oh, this guy's interesting. You know what I mean? It's like this is going to be an interesting take on it. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm looking to see what he brings to it because look, I mean, that was the thing is like I still went with Jodie. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, you know, it wasn't me being like, I just got you, man. It's like, all right.
Right.
You haven't really let me down before, so it's like, you know, let's just go with it and see, because, you know, like I said, just wait a couple of years and it'll be a different. That's the joy of it.
I am interested to see Disney's hand in this because now you were talking about the budgets, and so they're coming in here with, I'm sure, a truckload of money for, you know, the new season 1.
Keep in mind, it's still BBC. You know what I mean? So
yes, it is.
Still in control.
So they will just be doing the distribution. Disney. That's what's going on.
It's like, well, here's something funny. I actually had a meeting at Disney Plus right after they announced it, right? And I'm meeting with this executive, and I'm like, hey. Before we get into what we're talking about, I'm just going to be upfront with you that, you know, and I showed him the TARDIS console, and I showed him my Dalek. You know what I mean? It's like, don't suppose you're involved with Doctor Who, are you? And he's like, actually, I was. He goes, I left. But I was like one of the executives when it was first brought in. I'm like, okay, so this is what you need to do. You need to get back on Doctor Who, and then you need to hire me to write some episodes.
Right?
He goes, you know, even if I was to do that, he goes, the odds of them letting an American write an episode are pretty slim to none. So don't get your hopes up. And I'm like, I had to ask.
Right?
Come on now.
You know, there's always a first time.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's like, trust me, you know, I have a standing thing with my manager, you know, and my agent and stuff like that, where I always go like, you know, I just want you to know, most of the things I'm doing is just so one day I can write a Doctor Who episode, you know, big enough to, you know, so, you know, I like the fact that I won a Saturn Award. I think that's going to help, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, you know, any Brits that have come over and have played American parts here, I don't know why they can't reciprocate because,
exactly.
Listen, thank you.
So it's
Martin
like
Luther King is played by a Brit.
I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
Wow. You need to do something for me.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, like, the thing is, it's like, my whole plan is just so I can, but, you know, it's good because, like I said, I did an audio adventure. I did a Doctor Who comic book. But, you know, been in books and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So it's like, this is living out my childhood fantasy. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, clearly behind me. You know what I mean? It's like,
I'm sure you could adjust the dialogue so that it would sound British.
Yeah. No, I mean, by the way, I was like, when I wrote that audio adventure, like, it's like, be careful what you wish for. And I asked him, like, can I do a Tom Baker, Sarah Jane story? Because that would be the thing I would feel most comfortable with. Mm-hmm. But it was like the terror of like, oh crap, I now need to write their dialogue.
Uh-huh.
Yes, exactly.
I have a lot of responsibility here that, you know, it didn't, you know, like, I got that brass ring, but I'm like, that's what,
what am I going to do with it?
Right?
It's so funny. Like my story, like is part of it, almost like the subplot of it is how he got the coat rack in the TARDIS, because he used to have a coat rack. It is actually, believe it or not, it's like the origin story of the coat rack.
The origin of the coat rack.
I love it.
It's a story. I mean, that's not the story, but it's like it sort of dovetails with like that's how he got the coat rack. So it's like
they need you, Paul. They need you. They don't know what they're missing.
Just so like it's like every time we do a show, like we've done so many. We did one other on Doctor Who. I feel like so energized. It's just like, okay, I'm going to go back and watch all this Doctor Who now. And I'm still so late. Like I did actually start watching from modern era, but I still have more. I didn't even make it through that season, and not because I didn't like it or anything. It's because I loved it, but I just had so much other stuff that I had to keep up on for this job here, that I was like, I can't keep up. But it's like now it's turned into, because it fits really perfectly, just like when I feel like I want to watch some Trek, but I'm tired of watching the same thing I've already seen a million gazillion times. Then I turn to Doctor Who, and it scratches that itch for me, and it's like, and now it's becoming more of something that I'm doing more frequently, like because I'm just really appreciating the show a lot more, and I'm sad, and it's so cool, and I get it. Like, I mean, it's just like if people come to Star Trek and they're like, "There's so much. Where do I start? I don't even know," and you just start somewhere. It doesn't matter.
It'll all somewhere. Be there.
It's all, and that's the way I'm taking it. And now, it's just, it's lovely. And I'm really glad that you could come on and share your enthusiasm about it. I mean, I think that's the thing that really gets me jazzed up, is that we talk to people when you talk to somebody who loves something so much, it gets you excited about it too. And you see it from their point of view. And now you just can't wait to go and try it on again.
It was such comfort to me growing up, because like I said, like I grew up in the sports community. I was like really misunderstood because I was sort of this horror sci-fi fan. And there was such comfort that Doctor Who provided in my life. And like I said, I watched Star Trek also, but it was just something about Doctor Who just made me feel like anything was possible. Do you know what I mean? And I had sort of this handle on it. And how exciting would that be to travel in time and space? You know what I mean? You can go infinite, on these infinite adventures. And I think that's what I really loved about it. And I it has never waned. I mean, it has never waned. I so appreciate it. And I mean, obviously, clearly, I keep on pointing to behind me, but it really, I sit at my desk over there, so I see the TARDIS console. You know what I mean? Like, it was like really awesome is I just rented out my Dalek and the console to, I don't know if you guys saw, but they just released a Magic the Gathering Doctor Who set. It's 4 different sets of Doctor Who, classic and modern Doctor Who, and they rented out the TARDIS console. They actually had to get permission from the BBC, which was really interesting. And they rented the TARDIS console and the Dalek, from me, and I got to go on set with it. And this was just like a month.
Cool.
This was like a month or two ago, and it's like, it was not about the money.
Mm-hmm.
It was, it's like, are you fucking kidding me? Don't worry, we'll figure it out. Like I told the art director and the producer, I'm like, we'll figure it out. Just make sure my time's taken care of, because I do, I'm a professional, and my time is valuable to me. But I go, if you think I'm not going to be involved with this, I mean, you'd be crazy. You know what I mean? It's like, I'd probably pay them. You know what I mean? Because it's important. I mean, that's great. Magic the Gathering is now doing Doctor Who.
I mean, how cool is that?
Let me tell you something. When Doctor Who was on the cover of Entertainment Weekly, you know what I mean? I remember that, and I was like, fuck you, everyone. Sorry.
Yeah, right.
told you. I told you. You know what I mean? It's like when Doctor Who became a phenomenon, when they brought it back, and it really became like, especially when Tennant was, and it was like everywhere, and people knew about it, and like my kids' friends were dressing up like Doctor Who, and like, you know what I mean? It's like, I told you, you know what I mean? And it's like, I'd watch it with my kids.
I was laughing at this Danetic kid watching PBS.
Right?
You made fun of me for watching the show, and now everybody thinks it's the greatest thing ever. It's been on for 60 years, so suck. You know
I think like so many of us feel so vindicated, so many nerds. We are truly vindicated in so many ways now. Yeah. Like, y'all made my life a miserable friggin' hell growing up because I was a nerd and and now look at your asses, boring old person.
Running to see all kinds of superheroes and comic books. Y'all are so behind.
Yeah. Well, Paul, I know you gotta run. So, we just want to say thank you so much for spending some time with us. We really appreciate it. And, we love talking to you. You know we love you.
Like, you really had to twist my arm. Do you want to come back on and talk about Doctor Who and one of your favorite students? It's like, come on. You know what I mean? It's like, I was so excited about setting up my office to maximize, the impact, moving stuff around, making sure the lighting was good. I'm testing a lot. I tested so much lighting, different lighting styles, and brought in different lighting for the last hour and a half because I wanted this to look great for you.
Because you're a professional. This is why you're my mentor. I will always be Grasshopper.
Yeah. So, look, I'm really glad that you guys are like branching out and doing some Doctor Who, and I hope your viewers who haven't really watched it will check it out, and and like, hey, I'm on like Facebook if you ever want to reach out to me, and like I'm always happy to talk to Doctor Who fans, and I show Doctor Who fans the TARDIS all the time, or I bring it to conventions. Like Gallifrey one is like the main one I go to, and that's usually like in January, February. And like last year at the Doctor Who convention, I interviewed Chris Chibnall on stage in the main hall. Really amazing. So it's like, the little boy in me is like, I'm interviewing the producer of Doctor Who in front of an entire audience of people. I mean, that's incredible.
That is so cool.
That's incredible.
Bad boy makes good.
It's not. Bad boy makes good. It's not lost on me ever. You know what I mean? That I can't believe that the thing that really meant so much to me as a child and really did help me. You know what I mean? Like help me get through being at a school that was all into sports. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. In my movie Encounter, there's Doctor Who references in there. You know what I mean? There's all these Doctor Who references that I had to slip in there because, it's sort of my thank you. You know what I mean? It's thank you thank you for inspiring me and I just, I mean, you guys know because you're geeks.
You got that right.
Yep.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me on. Thank you.
We love you to pieces. Hey, Subrina, do you have an outro? You want to tell people where they can find us and all that stuff?
I can do that, yes.
And comments about Paul's love of Doctor Who and their own loves of Doctor Who, etc.
Right. You want to tell us all about how much you love Paul? But you can also find us at sci-fisisters.com. That's SYFYSISTAS.com. Or join us on the Mothership and the Sci-Fi Sisters Book Club, both on Facebook. On TikTok, Instagram, and Threads, we are sci-fi.sisters. And we're also on the Twitter, now known as X, at Sci-Fi Sisters. Become a patron of Sci-Fi Sisters today at patreon.com/Sci-Fi Sisters. The Trek Geek Network's presenting sponsor is Fansets. Go to fansets.com for pins and memorabilia from all your favorite franchises. Visit fansets.com and use Trek Geeks, all caps, that's Trek Geeks, all caps, for an exclusive 10% discount. After listening to this podcast, please rate us and leave a review. We just might read it on an upcoming episode. And so we want to shout out to the baddest engineer. Tamia, you want to take that?
Oh, yeah, thanks. I was like, oh, she's doing my part. That's cool. I'm just going to sit back and chill. Yeah, of course we got to shout out the baddest engineer in any and all universes. That's Dose, the anonymous one. He's responsible for all the music you hear on this show, as well as our production services. So if you need him, hit him up on Instagram, Dose _ the anonymous _1. And we love you. Oh, here's your theme song, Dose. Dose. Okay, I forgot I missed your theme song. We love you guys. Thanks for listening. We love you too, Paul. Peace, love, and hair grease. Bye. Hey, everybody. It's Sister Tamia here with the shorty shout-outs for this month. The Sci-Fi Sisters would like to thank LJ, Tara Jefferson, Holly Smith, Bernadette Garcia Galvez, Rhonda G, Kendra Stranad, Rita Persant Nethersall, Marcus Bigham, Mark Richmond, Bill Erickson, Zakia Graham, Linda Anderag, Travis Taylor, Jeffrey Cochran, Olda Klein, Peter Heisler, Olga Kravchuk, TJ Jackson Bay, Liza Albright, Kaylia Zawacki, Sam Droke Dickinson, Stephanie Baker, Sailor Marge, Stephanie Dole, Starbase Centaur 4210 Productions, Jamal Taylor, Scott Jensen, Ann Bradley, J.R. Poole, Howard Hogan, L.M., The Chief Ernesto Castagna, Timothy Baum, Dave A. Gregory, Eve England, David Balston, Karen Germera, Sue K., Anne Marie, Muhammad Noor, Susan V. Gruner, and Anna Post. Thank you all so much for your contributions. We love y'all. Peace, love, and hair grease.